Something a little bit different today. I'm going to be sharing some clips from legendary investors who didn't just have a couple of good years, but many great decades massively outperforming the market. I'll share my thoughts at the end, but I will say up front, you might notice a few recurring themes. These aren't people who just made a few bucks on a few stocks, locked in their profits, and rode off into the sunset, but investors who compounded capital at a staggering rate over extremely long periods of time. And as we listen to these clips, given that most people watching this channel are Tesla investors and probably at least half of them are also interested in the SpaceX IPO, see if you can spot any parallels with Tesla stock and potentially SpaceX.
The key thing is when the stock goes from 10 to 6, if you understand what they do and you know they're financially solvent, you're fine. If you don't understand it, you can call the psychic hotline. But if you don't understand it, you're probably going to do the wrong thing. You know, if you understand exactly what they're doing, it's gone from 10 to 6, you'll buy more. If you're confused to start with, you'll say, well, there must be something wrong there. And then you're out. And then a lot of times stocks are going to decline. I mean, some of my best stocks have gone from 18 to 8, then to sometimes to 40. And some have gone from 18 to 0. But at least I wasn't adding to it on the way to 0. A lot have gone to 0.
So if it's going down, you're not adding to it? I mean, sometimes you are.
If the fundamentals are getting better or the same.
Yeah.
But if they're deteriorating, I'm going to leave.
Probably if I make one great decision every 2 years, you have to make very, very few right decisions in investing in your life. You might say that a person who bought Berkshire Hathaway 50 years ago only had to make one decision. And there's a temptation for people to act far too frequently in stocks simply because they're so liquid. They know they can't buy and sell farms every day or buy and sell apartment houses every day. They can buy and sell stocks, and in a very liquid market with very low transaction costs. And that should be a huge advantage. But people turn it into a disadvantage because they think the availability of the opportunity to trade is something that they have to take advantage of every day. And actually, active trading just costs them a lot of commissions. The main thing to do is buy into a wonderful business and just sit there with it.
I don't believe in diversification at all. I would own one stock if I could find one great stock. Diversification is a big mistake. I call it diversification. You buy this thing that might balance this other thing and they both go down. So I don't believe in diversification at all. I would own one stock. But what I do believe in is if I find 10 good stories, they're all equally attractive, I buy all 10. And I wait to see them unfold. It's like watching 10 poker games. 10 games of stud poker. You watch the cards turn over, story 3 gets better, story 6 slips, story 7 stays the same but it goes up 50%, so you sell 7 and buy 2. That's all I do. So if they're equally attractive, I buy all 10. Then gradually some story says, oh my God, this is getting better and better, and guess what? The stock just went down. So you keep watching 10 stories and magically, because of that rule of stocks going up and down a lot, then you load up. You really take a big advantage. So that either happens because something happens to the company or the market goes down and all stocks go down.
The whole trick of the game is to have a few times when you know that something is better than average, and invest only where you have that extra knowledge. And then if you get just a few opportunities, that's enough. And what the hell does you care? You own 3 securities and JP Morgan Chase owns 100. What's wrong with owning a few securities? Warren always says if you lived in a growing town and you owned stock in 3 of the best enterprises in the town, isn't that diversified enough? The answer is, of course it is. They're all wonderful places. And that Fortune's formula, which got so famous, which was a formula to tell people how much to bet on each transaction if you had an edge. And of course, the bigger your edge, the more close the transaction was to a certain winner, the more you should bet. And of course, there's mathematics behind it. But of course it's true. It's perfectly possible to buy only one thing because the opportunity is so great and such a cinch, or only 2 or 3. So the whole idea of diversification when you're looking for excellence is totally ridiculous. It doesn't work. It gives you an impossible task. What fun is it to do an impossible task over and over again? I find it agony. Who would want to do it?
Well, my idea of risk control is a little non-conventional. I like putting all my eggs in one basket and then watching the basket very carefully. I think I don't know what they teach at Marshall, but at most business schools they teach, I think, a lot of nonsense called risk-adjusted return and diversification.
Ouch.
As a money manager, if you look at a normal portfolio, most people will make 70-80% of money that year on 2 or 3 ideas, even though they'll have 30 or 40 things in their portfolio. My concept was to put into those 2 or 3 ideas that I had the most conviction in. I was also lucky to travel across asset classes, so I traded commodities, currencies, bonds, and equities, and it gave me the discipline. If I didn't have a good idea in equities, I was happy to have no equities, or the same thing with bonds. So when you have a quiver with a bunch of arrows in it, you can usually find something to put a lot of money into. The only other thing I'd say is too many investors look at the present. The present is already in the price. You have to think out of the box and sort of visualize 18 to 24 months from now what the world is going to be and what securities might trade at. You know, what a company's been earning is ridiculous. It doesn't mean anything. What you have to look at is what people think, what a company's earning, what people think it's going to earn, and if you can see something 2 years, it's going to be entirely different than the conventional wisdom. That's how you make money. My first boss used to say the obvious is obviously wrong. If you invest in conventional wisdom, you're going to lose your butt.
Ted Williams wrote a book called The Science of Hitting. And in The Science of Hitting, he's got a diagram, shows him at the plate, and he's got the strike zone divided into 77 squares, each the size of a baseball. And he says, if I only swing at pitches in my sweet zone, which he shows there, and he has what his batting average would be, which is 400. If he had to swing at low outside pitches, but still in the strike zone, his average would be 230. He said the most important thing in hitting is waiting for the right pitch. Now, he was at a disadvantage because if the count was 0-2 or 1-2 or so on, even if that ball was down where he was only going to bat 230, he had to swing at it. In investing, there's no called strikes. People can throw Microsoft at me and, you know, you name it, any stock, General Motors, and I don't have to swing. And nobody's going to call me out on called strikes. I only get a strike called if I swing at a pitch and miss. So I can wait there and look at thousands of companies day after day, and only when I see something I understand and when I like the price at which it's selling, then if I swing, if I hit it, fine. If I miss it, it's a strike. But it's an enormously advantageous game. And it's a terrible mistake to think you have to have an opinion on everything. You only have to have an opinion on a few things. In fact, I've told students, if when they got out of school, they got a punch card with 20 punches on it, and that's all the investment decisions they got to make in their entire life, they would get very rich because they would think very hard about each one. And you don't need 20 right decisions to get very rich.
So is it just me? Am I imagining things, or did Peter Lynch, Warren Buffett, Charlie Munger, and Stanley Druckenmiller all seem to have very similar thoughts when it comes to investing, decision-making, action-taking, and diversification? In fact, I'm pretty sure we heard that it is possible to make a single great investment decision, just one in your lifetime, and that being more than enough, although maybe 2 or 3 great decisions and you're absolutely set. On this, I completely agree and also speak from experience. My first major investment decision, loading up strategically on some Australian real estate beginning in 2010. By the way, still holding said real estate portfolio. Worked out pretty well. 2015, buying my last piece of real estate, I ran out of borrowing ability, couldn't borrow anymore, couldn't buy anymore. Started loading up on Tesla soon after. Haven't sold a share of Tesla. It's worked out relatively well. And at this stage, I have my eyes on the SpaceX IPO, and I think that might do me. 3 decisions spanning more than a decade and a half, so an average of 1 major decision every 5 or so years. I think these investing wizards might be onto something. Just one really important caveat. If you are retarded, and yes, some of you listening to this video are in fact retarded, although it might be difficult to know whether or not you're retarded. I'm not sure how much self-awareness you might have. Examples of your retardation might have been, I don't know, like panic selling a stock near the bottom only to see it double, triple, quadruple, quintuple, and not having learned a lesson, freaking out if a stock you bought goes on sale instead of buying more, those kind of things. Maybe you don't have what it takes. In some situations, you have a track record of not having what it takes, either mentally or emotionally, to follow the sage wisdom of these legendary investors, or perhaps you believed that you'd really researched an opportunity, had a massive informational advantage, thought you saw something that others didn't, went in heavy, absolutely loaded up, all in, acted on that assumption and then turned out to be dead fucking wrong. Diversification may be an excellent strategy for you. Probably unlikely to get the same returns as somebody who does the opposite, but you will protect yourself from your own retardation. For everyone else listening, however, isn't it interesting that these guys who produced incredible returns each over multiple decades all had the same thoughts on this concept? Want more content? Early access? Bunch of perks? Click the links in the pinned comment. AG1 has been part of my daily health protocol for almost half a decade. It's packed full of vitamins and minerals and helps me fill in nutritional gaps while supporting energy, digestion, and immune function. It also has prebiotics and probiotics to promote gut health. I take my health very seriously, and so should you. Try AG1 today by visiting drinkag1.com/SMR or click the link in the pinned comment and enjoy a free welcome kit with vitamin D3 plus K2 and AG1 travel packs. That's drinkag1.com/SMR.